Kelly Dale with Off the Beaded Path, and this is your Must Know Monday for Monday, May the 7th. So for the last 2 weeks, I've been showing you guys how to use the new centerline components from the Beadsmith Company. The first week, I showed you the slender pendant centerline. Last week, I showed you the 5-row link that you could use to make a bracelet or whatever it is your mind can think of. And this week, I'm going to show you the centerline bangle. The cool thing about these bangles, they are adjustable. So if you have a little bit of a smaller wrist, you can make it a little bit smaller. Or if you need it a little bit bigger, you can make it bigger. This is what's called a 3-row centerline component. And that just simply means that 3 size 11 delicates will sit perfectly in the center of this slit that is cut out for the piece. Now I'm showing you just how to put simple delicates in, but don't let your mind be held back with just putting delicates. You can pretty much do a strip of beadwork and use this base to tack the beadwork on if you wanted to. You could wire work. There's so many things you could do with this, but I just want to show you basically how to use it. And I kind of wanted to let you know that we're going to take a break from the center lines next week because I want to show you an awesome tutorial on scissors, basically the best low-end priced scissors. And I want to show you some of my favorites. I basically went to the website, I ordered a bunch of the low-end scissors and I've tried them out. I've tried them in classes here recently with some of my customers, and I'm going to give you kind of a consensus on which one that we found were our favorite. Then we're going to jump back into the center line series because there's also a ring that I want to show you how to do. So today's video, again, you're going to need a cuff. We carry these. This is the RP, which is the rhodium plated, which is the silver. There is the GP, which is the gold plated. And there's the RGP, which is the rose gold plated. So we have all of these, and you can find them on our website at offthebeadedpathbeadstore.com. You're also going to need a needle, and I'm using, again, the 10-pound fire line for today's project. And then just a small stash of delicates. You can use as many colors, as few colors, whatever you want to do. I'm just going to do a very simple pattern of 1 row, a different alternating my colors. So that is all you're going to need for this project. So go ahead, get your materials together, and let's get started. So here is the cuff, again, that I'm going to be using. I have my needle threaded with a yard of 10-pound fire line. And to start, I'm going to start it just like I did last week. I'm going to come up through the hole here in my bottom corner. Now you can see all the holes are lined up just like they were on our 5-row component last week. So I'm going to pull this through, and I'm going to leave myself enough tail that I can kind of hold on to. And I'm going to pick up 3 size 11 delicates. Now I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to come directly across to the adjacent hole on the other side, and I'm going to come down through that hole. So now it's going to look like this. At this point, I'm going to take my needle and I'm just going to stick it up in between. I'm going to go through those 3 11 delicates again. I'll put my finger there, kind of hold them in place. And you have to be careful on this one. The link, I feel like, was a lot easier to deal with. You didn't have to worry about getting your threads caught. Okay, I'm going to stick it back under and then go through. I can go through that beginning hole again, but before I do, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the tail and the working thread and I'm going to tie them together in a couple of knots. Okay, now I'm going to come back up through that first hole again. Through the 3 11s that I just added. down through the hole, and then up through the very next hole. This will work just like last week. Now, I will show you one thing I seen. I watched several videos before I did this video because I wanted to see if there were any, anybody else had any cool tutorials. One thing I seen on the Beadaholic website was that you could actually take a pair of spring pliers and put them in there, and that would help hold your work as you worked. But I just find it just as easy just to hold it in my hand as I work. It's up to you. It's a really great tip. But again, it's up to you. So now I'm going to pick up 3 more delegates. I'm going to come down through the adjacent hole on the other side. This is going to be on that right-hand side. I'm going to come up through the center here. This just makes it a little bit easier. I'm going to go through all 3 of the delegates that I just added. I'm going to hold them in place to keep them tight. We'll stick it back down through the center here because just like last week, we want a thread on the bottom and a thread on the top of each hole so that it keeps our beadwork centered and good to go. Now I'm going to go through the 3 blacks again. Good grief. You have to be really, really careful on these. I'm leaving the bloopers in here today because I want you to see how easy it is to get caught up on things that you're working with. Okay, and then I'm going to come up through the next hole. Now, just like last week, if you look here, all of these components are like this, and I still don't understand it. On one side, this first hole right here is a little bit off to where these are perfectly aligned. I was told they do this to help accommodate all of the beads into the holes, and that the more you do, the straighter it looks, and that is true, but it still don't look great when you start it. So now 3 more 11s. I'm going to come straight down through the adjacent hole. Pull that through. Just going to kind of slide it through the center and then go through all 3 of the 11s I just added. We'll pull that thread back down through the center again and come up through the hole that I started with. Then I'm going to go through the 3 11s and then down through the hole. Then I'm going to come straight up through the next hole. There was one video I watched where, and I'll show you what they did here, and because you can do this as well, but I just don't like the way it looked. I've got my 3 delegates. I'm coming down through, and what they did was, instead of coming back through to kind of anchor this and make sure you're set, they actually took the needle and come straight up through the hole on the next side. But what happens when you do that is on the back, you actually see the thread, and they had thread all the way across. And I really did not like that because, number one, yes, it's just the back of it, but you see the thread. And number 2 is I feel like the more the thread is exposed straight to your skin and the elements, the easier that thread is going to be to break. So that's an option to think about if, you wanted to do that as well. Okay, so then I'll come back up through this hole. Come on. There we go. And you can see, again, I got it caught. There we go. Through the 3 blacks again. And now the only reason we come back and then down and up is to anchor everything and to get back to the other side. So that way, just like in last week's 5-row link, we'll have... See if I can get it to zoom in here. You'll have a thread here, a thread there, a thread here, a thread there. So the threads will alternate up and down as you work on the back of your beadwork. So you're just going to continue to work filling in your holes until you've added your last set. So now I have all of my holes filled up on the center line piece here. I've added my last one, and now I am ready to tie the thread off. So I'm gonna simply do this by going under my thread right here where my needle is exiting, and sometimes you gotta really work to squeeze and get under that because it's tight. But you're gonna pull that through, leave yourself a little loop, go through the loop and pull that thread. Good and tight. And then what I do is I just simply go back through, stitch through to get rid of my thread, and then I will trim those tails. So according to the Beadsmith Helby Company, they say that you need to put a drop of glue on your knots before that you cut these, or like I'm doing is I'm simply stitching my threads through the beadwork to finish out my cuff. I hope you enjoyed learning how to make the new center line cuff. This is again the 3-row one. We have these in the rhodium plated, the gold plated, and the rose gold plated, and all 3 of those can be found on my website at offthebeadedpathbeadstore.com. We also sell the fire line as well as delicas and needles. Now be sure to come back next week where we're going to talk all about cutters and scissors. Hope you guys have a great one, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.